Welcome back. Gasperini does it again. Inter beat Roma 1-0, courtesy of a goal from Bonny. We're, as of recording, back atop the Serie A table after Napoli fall to Torino yesterday. And to make things all that much sweeter, Juve are currently down 2-0 to Como. I'm your host, Andrew. Miko, Jay, and Irfan with me here today. Irfan, what was your favorite part of yesterday? Was it us winning, or was it Aslani getting us a critical 3 points?
I just, I wanted to say thank you to Aslani. I know no one's going to say thank you to Aslani, but I will say thank you to Aslani. He's the spine of that midfield that was able to so courageously hold Napoli. So I appreciate it, and I'll say it. Thank you, Aslani. It's interesting. Serie A so far, it's been very interesting. Inter's currently in first place, but there's no kings in Serie A, and so we'll see what ends up happening down the stretch and who's in first place. But Torino did us a favor, and we did well against Roma, so things are looking good so far.
Well, depending on who you ask, there's one king in Serie A. Here's Jay to tell us how Milan will be top of table soon.
I don't know who they're playing, but I mean, no, they're actually playing a struggling Fiorentina side coached by none other than Stefano Alpioli, the terrorist. So it's looking like a surefire 3 points for Milan, which will put them as the sole leaders with 16 points. So it's only a matter of time.
Miko, at least you and I can enjoy this one.
Yeah, absolutely. That was a nice result. Match was a bit, I don't know, Irfan would say cagey, but that's what it definitely was.
I would say dull.
Well, I think it was interesting, heated.
That was
a
fucking shit match.
No. Cut that off.
I'm closer to the J side of things on this one, but it was an important win, which is what matters most. Because if you put aside the tactics and the aesthetics of the match, this is the toughest win of Kivu's career, his very short career, and our most impressive win this season when you factor in the quality of opponents going away to Roma. And like I was saying in the last episode, I mean, this was the match to show, are we a Scudetto contender or are we just shooting for the top four? And we got the job done. We got that 3 points. And now this team has hurled itself firmly into the Scudetto conversation. And there will be bigger challenges coming up. But before you take on the bigger challenges, you have to clear the first hurdle. And this was the first hurdle. We cleared it. We put Gasperini aside again. And now we can seriously talk about this team being a Scudetto contender. But yeah, this not pretty at all. I mean, what does Allegri call it? Corto Muso. We played well in the first half, but it was, yeah. Roma was content to play out from the back in the first half. They let us press them. We pressed great. We created a lot of chances quickly on the counter because of our press, and we forced a lot of mistakes, including the mistake we forced. Well, I don't know if you can call it a forced mistake, but the mistake by Roma on the offside trap that sprung Bonny in 1-on-1, and he got the job done. He scores the goal. And honestly, in the first half, when you're watching this, even though we weren't creating shots on target necessarily, I'm like, okay, this thing's trending towards being a beatdown. This is going to be a 2-0, 3-0, something like that. But they didn't go quietly. Roma made a few subs earlier in the second half. Our team kind of sat back a little bit more in the second half, and I never felt endangered too much. Roma was never that dangerous, but I want to give credit to us because this is a match we lose last year. We saw it several times where we conceded goals late in matches. We saw it against Juve. This team concedes goals late in matches. So to keep the clean sheets is impressive. And I'm going to give credit to Kivu for his fitness training and the youth we've brought in, because that's the only thing that makes sense to me in terms of why this team has tightened things up defensively this year. In terms of individual performances, a mixed bag game from Summer for me. He had the really nice save on Hermoso's header, but he also got lost on a set piece that Dovbyk had a free header and pulled a Lukaku on. So I'm not going to sing his praises, but good enough to get the win. And then the place I really want to start is with the goal scorer himself, Bonny, because I don't know about you guys, that was a roller coaster of emotions after he was supposed to be one-on-one with the keeper. He takes a clunky touch that brings him too far out wide. You think he's blown his chance, but then he just powers it right through the goalie. I can picture during the match, I could picture Jay saying how this is like poor goalkeeping, or not even poor goalkeeping, but like what an awful finish, and he still scored a goal. But I mean,
that's exactly right.
Yeah, I know. I can read your mind at this point, but athleticism, though, the ability to actually get behind the defense is something we have not had in the past. So considering how raw this guy was billed to be when we signed him, for him to already be contributing with goals and assists, like I think we might have something here. I don't know if he's ever going to be a starting caliber player for us, but this is a good player to have off the bench, especially when Thuram is constantly hurt. So, Jay, I'll start with you. Thoughts on the match as a whole, and do you agree that we are a Scudetto contender for the season?
Regarding the latter question, I think it's pretty early, arguably too early to tell. On one hand, we come with the repute, having just finished last season a point shy of taking the title. Of course, we were arguably the dominant side in the country for the past 4 years, and it's only due to our own kind of fumbling the bag that we don't have more titles to show for it. But I think any or most football fans would say that Inter were, as a whole, the strongest team in Italy since 2020 or so, maybe with one season's exceptions when Napoli steamrolled to the title. So for that continuation alone, we should be in the mix. We should be considered a contender. But like I said, weeks or months ago, it's not often that you go from a established coach who has had success after success and won a lot of plaudits for the style of play and the results achieved to, someone who's extremely green like Kivu. So that was a massive risk. And on top of that, I'm still of the opinion El Mercato was pretty shit. So when you put those two things together, I think that does throw into question a bit of doubt regarding the team and its objectives, especially from an ownership perspective. I think the ownership itself is more content to finish in the top four and to try and reduce costs, to try and build up some of these young investments into players who can contribute and be potentially monetized and provide a good return on investment, financially speaking. So it's a bit of a long-winded answer to your question, but I think from like a footballing perspective, we are in the title mix, but I think from like an ownership and kind of financial perspective, I don't think they really care that much. I think we are just there to be top four, and I think that's what the squad assembled is assembled to do as well. Regarding the match specifically, I don't really have that many thoughts about it. It was a ugly win, but as you mentioned, an important win. We lost plenty of these games last season and even this season. This is how we should have won against Udinese, perhaps. This is how we should have held on to the result against Juventus, but failed to do so. But now we've achieved exactly that and managed to keep Roma at bay, mitigate, or rather kind of negate a lot of the risk that they posed, and overall escape pretty much unscathed with a win. I don't think that was particularly difficult. I'm sure part of it is just like this absurd Gasperini curse where he's, lost 9 in a row against us and hasn't won against Inter in 16 games or something. So that's, let's be real, that's ridiculous. So that probably played a little bit of a factor. But look, deserved. And I kept thinking to myself, who was the man of the match here? Because I saw a lot of kind of ups and downs throughout the team. I didn't think our midfield was particularly good. And I felt, for example, Mkhitaryan was a really interesting or had a really interesting game in that his end product was so wildly inconsistent at times throughout this match, just so poor. But the guy is 36 and running around and easily our fastest and most liveliest player right up until the end, right up until the 95th minute. He's deep in the Roma half, pressing the defenders, pressing the goalkeeper, making runs, driving forward with the ball, making plays, and surging up the pitch, trying to get on the end of goal, of some goal scoring chances. And he hit the post quite late on as well. So I don't know. I think for the effort, you have to say Mkhitaryan is a good shout. I saw Gazzetta rated him 6 only. Maybe they're kind of marking him quite low because of the poor end product that I mentioned. But I don't think that poor end product was limited to him only. And that's why I'm a little bit more charitable than usual and willing to kind of look the other way in that regard. Lautaro, for example, I felt didn't do a great job of holding the ball up. I felt there was an interesting tussle between Mancini, who I think is just a fucking idiot. I think he's like a D-grade version of Materazzi, basically like a brute who fouls tactically, or kind of like a real shit Chiellini, right? Someone who's physical and rough and tough and goes in hard. But I think, guys like Chiellini and Materazzi were like 40 times the defenders Gianluca Mancini is. But got to give credit where it's due. I felt like the Roma defense and Mancini as well kind of probably won a lot of the battles against Lautaro and managed to hold their own and keep our forwards quite nullified, except for that one moment where, of course, Bonny beat the upside trap. And, I think, I don't want to say we're lucky, but I think there's some good fortune in that Roma just have this tendency to just buy like the worst fullbacks ever, even worse than our luck with, with going all the way back to Schelotto and Pereira and Nagatomo and Chena and Saldi and whatever. Roma are the same, man. They've blown so much money on these losers like Vigna and Zeki Celik and Karsdorp and whatever. Karsdorp was probably the best one they had, but I think if Roma had some better players on the flanks, they could have hurt us a bit more. But overall, I think it was a bit of a messy game, but we stayed out of danger for the most part, and it came out by far the cleaner of the two.
Yeah, I mean, no one's going to be writing books about how pretty this performance was, but like you said, Roma never threatened too much in the match. I will talk about Mkhitaryan for a second. This guy has received a lot of plaudits from yesterday's performance from Inter fans online. It's frustrating, though, because, like you said, maybe the reason why Gazzetta dinged him on their rating is because the final product was so poor. And every time this guy takes an attempt on goal, it's not going in. I can't tell you the last time I had confidence in Mkhitaryan going forward with his end product. Was it the Milan Derby in the year we made it to the Champions League final against City? It's non-existent, and I wish he would stop taking actual shots on goal. He had one chance he completely got wrong in the first half where he could have instead tried passing it. He could have instead tried laying it off, and he went for goal, and you knew it wasn't going anywhere. So, but he gets credit though, right? Because like you said, he's 36 years old. He's all over the pitch. He's pressing the goalkeeper in the 90th minute of the match with insane stamina and intensity. So he's a useful player, but the limitations are clearly there, and it's just we need to figure out our replacements.
It's hard to fathom that this is a guy who once scored 25 league goals in 29 league games when he was playing for Dortmund. That's the for Shakhtar Donetsk, and he continued hitting big goal contributions during his time at Dortmund. I think he got 20 something goals in his last season before moving to Arsenal. No, to Man United rather. And this is a serial goal scorer. Obviously, played much closer to goal at the time, and you can say he was younger at the time and more sprightly and more agile. But should that affect him that much? You know what I mean? Like, sure, he's not going to beat players for pace and trickery and then score these athletic, dynamic goals anymore. But where's the composure gone? Where's the placement on the shot? Where's the delicate chip over the keeper instead of just shooting straight at his chest? That's something that's always kind of that's always confused me. And even at Roma, he scored a lot more goals at Roma than he did for us. I think he scored more than 10 goals in one of his seasons at Roma. So yeah, that seems to just have completely evaporated when he joined Inter. And I don't know. It's always been one of the kind of mysteries to me because, back in the day, I remember being a fairly big fan of his all the way back in the Dortmund days, So, yeah, it's strange to me how it just seems to have aged out or something. It's just withered away.
Yeah, and just one final point on this. When you look at his poor performance in front of nets, it's because he doesn't even get the ball on targets. Last year, he played, I don't know how many league games, but he played a lot of league games. He got 2 shots on target all season. The amount of shots he took that were on target were 9%. And if you compare that to his Roma days, he was in the 40% range. So I don't know what has happened, but it's not like he's just not challenging the keeper. He's completely missing the mark. And it was a similar story yesterday. So Irfan, you're someone of similar age to Mkhitaryan. You were once his age. Maybe you can talk about just the difficulty and appreciation for someone at such an old age performing at such a high level.
Man, I couldn't run for 10 minutes when I was 20. So watching Mkhitaryan do what he does is obviously impressive. And as someone who is old, I have no problem admitting that he's an impressive physical specimen when it comes to stamina and speed for sure. But I'm kind of the same mind as Jay in the sense that I honestly thought this was such a shit game. I'm glad we won. I'm glad we kept a clean sheet. I'm glad we were opportunistic. And I think we played well. I'm not saying we didn't play well, but the match itself was an extremely, in my opinion, sort of a low quality match to watch overall. Tactically, it was fine. Like Miko said, I would say it was cagey, no doubt. But 2 things stuck out to me about this match. One was the fact that we kept a clean sheet. And I think that was really important because, like you guys already talked about, I'm not going to dwell on, but there's been a lot of times where when we score an early goal and then we end up almost either immediately conceding or conceding late and dropping, 2 points or 3 points. And that's become more of a feature of this team over the last few seasons, including this season, than anything else. So the fact that we were able to keep a clean sheet was very impressive. Now, with that said, Roma's attack seems pretty shit. So, I guess that was one aspect of it. With competent forward play, I think they could have probably scored against us. So, but that's neither here nor there. It didn't end up happening. So credit to us for keeping the clean sheet. The other thing I'll say is let's not forget that Roma's only conceded 2 goals the whole year. So they're a tactically efficient team at not conceding. And so conceding a goal so early on in the match for them was probably a kind of shock to their system, not expected. And playing from behind definitely doesn't really help them, it seems like. So I think that being opportunistic the way we were and scoring that first goal definitely helped. The goal itself, I think, was very interesting because it came from a great kind of pass from, I guess it was Barella who made that play. That was a great pass, and Bonny did well. But again, like I was of the same mind. Watching him actually execute that goal, I was like, "What is he doing? What is he doing?" Like he's like taking away the angle here to get a shot off, and then he's like like the goalie has him completely covered, and then I see DeMarco rushing in from the other side. I'm like, oh, okay, he's just buying time to play the pass. And then he doesn't play the pass. He shoots it. It was like one of those like hockey goals, like where it seemed like the player was like purposely finding like some sort of gap in the goalie's body, because he went right under sort of like his arm, but over his leg. It was just like a weird goal. I don't want to say it was fortunate. I don't want to take anything away from Bonny, but holy crap, like the placement of that goal, like I don't know where else he could have placed it. So I'm going to say it was I'm going to say it was purposeful and it was powerful, and so I give him credit for that. But I like you guys talked about, I don't think anyone played particularly well. I think Bonny deserves credit for getting the goal, but outside of that, man, like it was just a solid team effort, but I don't think anyone really stood out to me. So anyway, I'll take it because it's an important 3 points. And it's nice to see that we have the grit to pull out a match like this. I will say that. So shout out to the team for that.
We're debuting a new positive segment on interjections this week, and it's called the PO Updates. Miko, I want you to break down P.O. Esposito's performance for me in this match. This is what all the fans actually care about. This is who they want to hear about. So tell me, what did you think of P.O. yesterday?
Well, yeah, this is me repeating myself from every episode when I've shown P.O. play, because he's just so exceptional as the target man, and it was great to have them there. I was wondering, Jay mentioned about Lautaro having a poor game. We discussed this a week ago, how he usually has a poor game after the national team matches, and that was the case as well. He still started. That was probably because of the kind of the Thuram injury. He wasn't available at all. So I guess Kivu just wanted to keep the captain playing. Didn't play well, but then Kivu brought in P.O. who did very well at the point in the game when we were kind of struggling. We struggled most of the second half, and he bought us so many minutes when he drew those fouls and kind of kept the ball there. Didn't manage to, of course, do a lot by himself, but just buying the time and kind of giving some rest to the team is always important. And I just can't not being amazed how smart the guy is. He's the youngest player of the squad, but he's one of the smartest, or that's how it feels. He's like he plays like a veteran to me, which is just so kind of refreshing to see. We have this kind of young kid who plays so well that I think we could almost start to like use him as a starter at this point. Of course, we are not going to do that on a regular basis because he's a young guy. We need to take it slow with him, but he's just so useful for the team, even if not scoring goals. Still, he kind of does these tasks which are part of the forwards game in our setup, and he executes them so well. I'm very happy how he plays for us, because especially in the second half later when we had only him at the top, it was a bit hard to play when there was no partner for him, and Frattesi he was again pretty useless there. So at least having P.O. there and doing his job well helped a lot.
But Miko, I just don't want to see him 1-on-1 on the wing with the defender again trying to dribble, because that was painful to watch. He found himself in like two or three times like 1v1 on the wing with one of the defenders, and he tried to do some weird dribble that like seemed like it was in slow motion, and I was like, oh my god, this is not his game. So I'm fine with him starting. I appreciate what he brings to the table, but holy moly, like having him try to dribble past someone in the box is just, it's very painful to watch.
The back heel was kind of nice. It didn't come off, but it looked good.
And he still drew a corner, one of those kind of
the one where he fell down
the wing. Those are like small things, small details, but they are important. That like in these moments when we are a bit of struggling.
For sure, he was a very important release valve because we were taking a lot of pressure in the second half, and we seemingly couldn't do anything with the ball late. So it was good to have him do some good hold up play and draw some fouls and get a corner. All of that was like very important.
The one thing I'll quickly add, we didn't talk about this too much. I went to the Kyrie match a couple weeks back, and Fertesi came on and played a big role. And I will say, like, in person, I thought his positioning was a lot better than I expected. Like, defensively, he was actually really good when I watched him play. Like, he was everywhere he needed to be. He was covering a lot of ground, and he was closing down on Kyrie quickly. So I'm appreciating Fertesi a little bit more these days. I think some of what he does on the pitch doesn't come through as well on television as we'd like. But yeah, I mean, it's the attacking contributions continue to be the problem because he just doesn't get on the ball at all. But yeah, like my point is, Fertesi defensively is better than I thought he would be at this stage.
Compared to Sucic, for example, who's maybe even worse defensively than first feared.
Damn.
Yeah, not great.
That was pretty bad, honestly, by Sucic. I think, didn't he start against Torino and then Udinese? And I think the level of his game, it's just like gone down as the season has progressed. Maybe it's because he hasn't started that much, but damn, these matches aren't for him at this point. He's just like too green for these matches. If you compare someone like Pio, like he plays like he should, like a veteran, which is amazing. But then Sucic is like, it seems he's completely lost there. Like when there's this kind of a pressure, hostile environment, like a heat in the match, and he physically he's just lost there, and he's losing his step and taking like wrong moves, and not good, at least yesterday.
All right. We can put a bow on the Roma match performance there. So impressive win, and now we look ahead to a Champions League midweek match. So I don't... we play Union. We're not going to sit here and pretend we know a lot about this team. I can set the table for you in terms of what this team has done this year, and we can go from there. So in the Champions League, they have 1 win, 1 loss. I believe they beat PSV, and they got absolutely romped by Newcastle. This is an away match, but I read they're not actually playing in their home stadium because it's under renovations. So we'll be playing at Anderlecht Stadium instead in Belgium. In terms of squad rotation, obviously we have a big match next weekend in the league against Napoli. So what are you looking for, Miko, from a squad rotation standpoint as you try and chart out a course for us to win this match, but still keep everybody we need fresh for the possible Scudetto showdown?
It's a good question. I think we need rotation, but I don't know will Kiwu do it. The midfield is always a bit of an issue. Like, do we start with Çalhanoğlu and Barella, or do we? It's a tough one. I guess Mkhitaryan will sit this one, but then the forwards, is Thuram ready? Probably not. So who's gonna start? It's a tough one. I don't really know. Like, we need the points. This is still the pot 3, pot 4 game which we need to absolutely win. So I don't know. Will Dumfries play 90 minutes again? He played yesterday 90 minutes. Acerbi is probably not going to play. It's going to be De Vrij. I don't know. It's a tough one. Any thoughts from others? How do you see it? A lot of question marks to me, at least.
It's probably not going to happen, but I'd like to see Luis Enrique get a start. Dumfries has been playing a lot lately. We haven't really given Luis Enrique many chances to take a match 60, 70 minutes deep, and this feels like an easy chance for him to do so. So that's one immediate preference I have. And then I'm just going to assume that you want to go with Pio and Bonny here, given you're going to try to get Thuram healthy and you want to save Lautaro for the weekends. Jay, any thoughts from you?
Not particularly. It's hard to kind of gauge how strong Union are as an opponent. You know, on one hand, it's like they are currently leading the Belgian league, but on the other hand, it's the Belgian league. You know, so I kind of take it with a bit of salt, but you can't underestimate them either. You know, because on the flip side, we're ranting and raving about how good Alexander Stankovic is, and he's only playing in the Belgian league as well at a team apparently worse than Union Saint-Gilloise, or however they're pronounced. So yeah, it's always a little bit iffy when you come up against these teams like Slavia Praha and so on. To that end, I think some rotation is mandatory here, considering the big match against Napoli in a week. So I guess, yeah, you try and give one, if not two, of the midfield trio a rest here. Barella, Chalanoli, Mkhitaryan. Like I said, maybe start Fratesi and Sucic or Zielinski or something. Not Andy Diouf. I'm still on the Andy Diouf hate train here. And I do agree. It's time for some rotation on the flanks as well. I mean, this is why the whole Luis Enrique thing is a bit strange to me, because it does leave us a bit exposed. Because if we go with a more attack-oriented player on the right, then we kind of have to, by default, be a bit more defensive on the left, right? With Carlos Augusto, so one rotation option kind of begets another in this sense. So I don't know, just keep the team relatively strong. Maybe start 5 to 6 starters and rotate half the team, and yeah, we don't need to go overboard.
Yeah, I say we do go overboard. I mean, here's the thing: we just played Roma. We're about to play Napoli. We found ourselves in a pretty competitive situation in the league. This is a team that we should be able to beat with some heavy rotation. Like, give me Martinez, give me Bisek, let me get Augusto and Luis Enrique. And in the midfield, I would honestly just rest all three, man. Play Zielinski, Sucic, and Fratesi. Like, you paid a lot of money for Fratesi, a lot of money, okay? And then Zielinski is a proven Serie A player, and Sucic is your up-and-coming sort of midfielder. Like, you should be able to play these guys and expect a good result. Especially
I think I don't know about the money. Like, how does it relevant at this point anymore?
It's still relevant because clearly he's a player that if you paid that much money for it, you expect him to be able to handle starting a match, right? I mean, you don't pay that sort of money for a player whose quality is at best like a bench rotation sort of option, right? So it's more about, like, I get it, like, you have 3 very strong midfielders, and so it's hard for him to break into the starting 3. But when you need to rotate, I mean, if we can't rely on Fratesi to start games when we need to rotate our midfielders, then I mean, that's really pathetic. I don't know. So,
yeah. Who would you start at Regista then, Irfan?
Probably Zielinski.
See, I can't sign off on that. Like, I think you have to start Barella then. I don't. Zielinski's not made for the Regista role, so I'm good if you want to go Fertizi and Sucic, but then you got to throw Barella back there.
I mean, maybe, man. I don't know. My approach to this would be to do as heavy rotation as I can, and then just evaluate it. And you have 5 subs, and you could make subs at the half or even earlier if you need to, if things aren't working. But I would do a heavy rotation and then just make the subs when you need to make them. I wouldn't play Lautaro unless we desperately needed a goal. He was pretty garbage when he played against Roma, sorry to say. And so he clearly needs some rest and recovery after his international trip. So I don't know, man. I would focus our entire priority and energy on the match against Napoli. That's a huge match. Like, we need to go into that at full strength. And, they might still be missing, like, Højlund and McTominay. Like, those guys might not be available for them. I mean, this is as good of a chance as we're going to get to, like, just to take them out. And so all focus, in my opinion, should just be on that match.
I'm going to take a stab in the dark here. And I just realized I have one actual opinion to offer on Union, which is that Canadian striker Promise David plays for them. This guy is relatively new to me. He only started playing for Canada like a year and a half ago. He was like eligible for a few different countries, and he chose Canada. So he's the most valuable player in Union's squad. If you check his transfer market value, it's around 15 million, and he's their leading goal scorer. So I can offer you guys 2 minutes on this guy's game. So he, like, in terms of the model striker he is, it's much more of like a Pio than a Bonny. Yeah, this guy is just absolutely massive. He's a huge guy. He can be more of a target man, and he's not as fast as you hope for a striker. So he's going to play with his back to goal. I do think his finishing's pretty good. Like, I've seen him score some nice goals, but he's not going to be a threat on the counterattack to us. He's not going to be getting him behind the defense. So he's probably the danger man to watch from Union. And I do think he's a good player, but obviously not one who's like, if he was in a Serie A squad, he'd probably be on like an Udinese level team, if that helps give you guys some appreciation for the quality of player he is, but he is Union's leading goal scorer and the most valuable player in their team.
Is he related to Jonathan David?
No relation. Well, we can do some predictions for the Union match if you guys just want to guess how many goals we score. For fun, go ahead.
Man, it depends so much on who we play, but I'll go with a 2-0 Inter victory. I think it'll be a comfortable sort of win, but I don't think it'll be anything too insane. So I'm going to give us 2 goals, and I'm going to give those to, I'm going to give them to Augusto and Zielinski.
Nico?
I'm going to go with 2-1 win for Inter. It's going to be a struggle. We're going to rotate heavily, and it almost backfires. But we're going to grab the win with the goals from... Let's go with Augusto, and Lautaro will get the winner. We concede first. They're going to come heavy at us at the start, and we are not ready for that.
I'm thinking 2-0 as well, and I'll give it to Bonny and I don't know, one of the defenders, maybe a Kanji from a set piece.
Basek, perhaps. I could see him starting this match.
Good point.
The thing we haven't talked about, and I think deserves a minute, is that we've done an excellent job since Inzaghi took over as manager of not losing Champions League matches where we're heavy favorites. Like, if there's a match in the Champions League we're supposed to win, we've done fantastic in those matches. We do not drop points to these teams, and we're still early on the Kivu era, but we all know the deal. We have a backloaded Champions League fixture slate this go around, and we're 2 for 2 in terms of convincing wins against teams we're supposed to beat. So I do feel optimistic we get the job done here. This team doesn't let up in these spots. You can tell they really value the Champions League. So I will go with a 3-1. Give me some goals. I am willing a Luis Enrique goal into existence. I need this guy to do something. I need this guy to rationalize his price tag. So give me a Luis Enrique goal. Pio gets a goal, and throw in one from Fertizi in the midfield. And then, I'll do my compatriot a solid and give Promise David a goal. All right, Jay's hot betting tips.
All right, it's the part of the episode that you'll have been looking forward to here, and I'm going with two Champions League fixtures. We've got the big one between Real Madrid and Juventus, and we've also got Arsenal versus Atleti. I'm saying that Real Madrid and Juventus actually draw 2-2, and I'm saying that Arsenal blow away Simeone's pathetic terrorist football with Arteta's cutting-edge, laser beam, modern football 5-1. So Arsenal 5, Atleti 1, Real Madrid 2, Juventus 2.
Juve's Champions League form this year has been awful. If they take another draw here, that will basically eliminate any chance they have of avoiding the qualification rounds, and it puts into doubt their ability to actually even make the top 24. They're probably going to, but if they lose outright to Real Madrid, they've got some major work to do. All right, well, I think we can wrap it there. We'll figure something out. Obviously, we have the midweek Champions League game. We have Napoli next weekend. We know you all want a Napoli preview, so we will get that to you at some point. Don't know what it will exactly look like, but there will be an episode loaded with the Napoli preview, and we'll be able to give you more insights then once we figure out who's healthy, who's available, and all that. So we will catch you all then. Thank you all for listening. Miko, take us away.
Forza Inter.
That's the deal.